What's up, Niner gang? The vibe in the Bay feels different today. The defense is waking up at exactly the right time. There's a controversial decision brewing behind the scenes, a big-name player who might be on his way out, and even a hidden talent basically being forgotten on offense. Has it all worked? In some ways, yeah. But there's something big coming, for better and for worse. The question is the red and gold really ready for what's coming in this final stretch? You're not going to believe what we've got today, so sit down, hit that like button, and let's go straight into the news. Because tonight feels like a full-on must-win episode. Faithful? Just look at how the script for this season has flipped upside down. Not long ago, we were complaining that this defense looked slow, lacked juice, no burst, and now, right at the business end of the year, the signs of a turnaround are showing up exactly when the NFL becomes a land for grown-ups only. The standings show it, the wins confirm it, and the advanced stats are starting to tell a story that looks very different from what we saw in the first half of the season. Sure, you can say the Cardinals, Panthers, and Browns don't exactly bring explosive offenses to the table, but it would be unfair to dump everything on the level of competition. The truth is this defense has woken up. The secondary, which was a huge question mark, is suddenly playing like a trustworthy unit. Diamador Lenoir is still performing at a ridiculous level. Renardo Green is completely dodging that infamous sophomore slump, and Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown keep getting better snap after snap. That changes everything because when the back end is stable, the front seven is free to hunt quarterbacks the way it was built to do. And here's the part that really fires you up. Even without Nick Bosu, that defensive line that looked anemic in sack production has started to show real signs of life. Against the Browns, they racked up 3 sacks, their best mark since Bosa went down. It's not just a cold number. It's rhythm. It's confidence. It's that feeling that suddenly the pocket is no longer a safe place for opposing quarterbacks. The recent additions are making a difference. Bryce Huff is still the main engine, but bringing in Clelin Ferrell and Keion White took some of the weight off his shoulders. Ferrell especially is on a hot streak, piling up sacks week after week and reminding people why he was once a high draft pick. White is getting more comfortable every game, bringing constant pressure, energy, and the versatility to line up in different spots. On the inside, Kalia Davis and rookie Alfred Collins are still a bit up and down, but you can already see flashes that they might turn into that interior push the pass rush was missing. And it doesn't stop there. After the bye, the expectation is to have Yetur Gross-Matos and Sam Okwuegbunam back. 2 guys who can play inside and outside and expand the menu of NASCAR packages on third down. If Gross-Matos can replicate that absurd win rate he had rushing inside before the injury, the red and gold suddenly has a much more dangerous interior rush. Picture the playoffs with Huff, Ferrell, White, Okwuegbunam, and Gross-Matos rolling in waves while Saleh dials up stunts and pressure looks designed to completely confuse protections. The real question is this. Even without Bosa, is this defense finally hitting the perfect timing to explode right when the NFL demands the most? Niner gang, take a deep breath, because now the conversation shifts completely. If on defense we're seeing growth and new possibilities, on offense there's a situation that's been bothering a lot of people. Isaac Guerendo's future. And the more you look at it, the more it feels like his time in San Francisco is coming to an end without ever truly starting. At the start of the season, the vibe was totally different. With McCaffrey healthy, Brian Robinson arriving to be the ideal RB2, and Guerendo coming off a year full of promising flashes, a lot of fans believed that trio could form a terrifying backfield. Guerendo ran with explosion, caught the ball well, and looked exactly like that complimentary running back who fits Shanahan's system like a glove. It was almost consensus. He was going to have a real role in 2024. But the NFL is brutal with anyone who loses timing, and Guerendo lost his completely. 13 weeks, 0 offensive snaps. That's not an exaggeration. 0. He hasn't been on the field for a single symbolic carry, not as a decoy, not on a screen, nothing. The faithful pulls up the snap count and feels that uncomfortable strangeness. How does a player who seemed so promising just vanish from the game plan? And when fans go looking for answers, all they find are signs that the staff has already turned the page. First, The kick return duties were taken out of his hands and split between Brian Robinson and Sky Moore. Then, the selection of Jordan James in the 2025 draft made it even clearer that the front office doesn't see Guerendo as a key piece in the present or the future. That stings, because the faithful remembers those explosive runs last season, that aggressive style that looked perfect to complement McCaffrey. The truth is that CMC's perfect health changed everything. Robinson became a high-end backup, the kind of RB2 you put on the field without thinking twice. And when your RB2 checks every box the system demands, the RB3 just disappears. Shanahan operates on trust, rhythm, and fit. Guerendo has lost all three. So now what? The feeling is that, barring some post-bye twist or unexpected injury, he's unlikely to get meaningful snaps before the end of the season. And that brings the big dilemma. Is it really worth keeping a roster spot in 2025 for a player who didn't grow inside this system? Or is it smarter to open space for someone whose skill set is better aligned with the current identity of the offense? While the fan base argues about it, the impression is that the door is closing on Isaac Guerendo in San Francisco a lot faster than anyone expected. Faithful, this is the point in the video where we have to face a tough truth. There's no way to sugarcoat it, no way to pretend it didn't happen, and definitely no way to ignore the emotional impact this has on the fan base. Brandon Aiyuk, the guy who for years was the most consistent, most polished, and most reliable wide receiver on this team, is heading toward an ending no one imagined when he signed his extension. And looking back, it's hard to escape the feeling that the 49ers got this one wrong. It's easy to point fingers now. Easy to say the deal was rushed, that the contract was too big, that there were red flags. But at the time it looked like the right move. Aiyuk was on an insane upward trajectory, getting better season after season, hitting his physical and mental prime. He was the receiver who beat man coverage, found soft spots in zone, and blocked in the run game like it really mattered to him. He was the perfect fit for Shanahan's system, and most importantly, the ideal partner for Brock Purdy. And that's what hurts the most. The initial plan made sense. Keep Purdy with his favorite weapon. Protect continuity. Reward production. Every great quarterback has their go-to guy. Mahomes has Kelsey. Allen has Diggs. Purdy was supposed to have Aiyuk. It was logical, strategic, coherent. The mistake wasn't believing in the player. The mistake was committing to that kind of contract in an offense that, deep down, was never built to rely on an expensive wide receiver to function. This offense always has been, and always will be, a machine built around the run game and Shanahan's timing. The passing game is a consequence, not the engine. And when your entire structure depends more on the system than on individual stars, heavy investments become real risks. And this one came back to bite. Aiyuk barely played, didn't produce, didn't score touchdowns, didn't swing games, and even worse, he became a source of noise in a locker room that historically works better with complementary pieces than with big gravitational centers. Shanahan blocked a trade to the Steelers because he truly believed he could restore last year's chemistry. He believed in the talent. He believed in the connection with Purdy. He believed he could rebuild the offense around that duo. It didn't happen. And now, the inevitable is on the horizon. A breakup at the end of the season. Purdy loses the best wide receiver he's ever had. The fan base loses a player who seemed destined to carve out a special place in franchise history. And the 49ers, in a way, are paying the price for trying to bend their offensive identity to fit a financial profile that never really matched Shanahan's original philosophy. The question that lingers is this: where would this offense be right now if it had stayed true to its historical blueprint instead of trying to reinvent its own DNA? Faithful, get ready, because now we're diving into a conversation that goes straight to the heart of this team's offensive identity. Christian McCaffrey is having another absurd season, putting up numbers most running backs will never see in an entire career. But at the same time, the 49ers run game is living a paradox that has even veteran analysts scratching their heads. How do you have the best running back in football and still struggle so much to generate explosive runs on the ground? CMC has already blown past 1,600 yards from scrimmage, has scored well over a dozen touchdowns, and has carried the offense in critical moments. But when you look at the metric that has always defined success in Shanahan's system, those explosive runs, you run straight into a wall. Just one run of more than 20 yards all season. One. It's surreal. It's frustrating. And at the same time, it explains a lot about why the total rushing yardage per game feels so underwhelming. John Lynch tried to take some heat off when he spoke publicly about it. He said the blocking has been solid, that the receivers are doing their job in the run game, that McCaffrey is still creating yards on his own. And he's right about that. But he also admitted what the faithful has felt for weeks. Defenses are selling out to stop the Niners on the ground. Teams are loading the box, clogging outside lanes, and forcing Shanahan to live off efficiency instead of explosive plays. The result is a run game that works, but doesn't terrify anyone the way it used to. There's something important here, though. Despite those cold numbers, Shanahan hasn't lost confidence. Lynch hasn't lost confidence. And most importantly, McCaffrey hasn't lost a step. Inside the building, the feeling is that if they keep pounding the rock, sooner or later the dam will break. That defenses won't be able to keep this level of commitment forever. That all it takes is one perfect read, one block hit just right, one safety a half step out of position, and suddenly this ground game turns back into that classic red and gold nightmare. And even if that explosion never fully shows up, there's always the plan B. When defenses throw everything they have at stopping the run, Purdy gets far better matchups through the air. That's why, even with modest rushing numbers, the offense keeps winning games and stacking long, time-consuming drives. So the real question is, are we about to see this run game finally blow up again? Or is Shanahan quietly preparing an identity shift on offense that's only going to be fully revealed when the playoffs kick off? Faithful, after everything we've just walked through, it's impossible not to feel like we're heading toward a decisive point in this season. A defense that's peaking at the perfect time, a backfield going through silent but real changes, a heavy decision around Aiyuk reshaping the future of the passing game, and this constant search for balance on the ground, even with McCaffrey playing at an MVP level. Every storyline we talked about tonight is pushing the 49ers into a moment of transformation, and what happens next might define not only this playoff run, but the identity of this team for years to come. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these stories hit you the hardest as a 49ers fan? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hammer that like button, and if you're part of the Niner gang and you're not subscribed yet, fix that right now so you don't miss the next chapter of this season.